Most people think safety is a binary state. You are either safe or you are in danger. But if you have spent any time looking at the engineering of survival, you know that is a comfortable lie we tell ourselves to sleep at night. Safety is not a switch, it is a ladder. And right now, most of you are standing on the bottom rung, staring up at a dizzying ascent of concrete, steel, and air filtration systems that separates the casual prepper from the civilization architects. We are going to walk through the 10 distinct levels of doomsday bunkers. We are not talking about a hole in the ground versus a bigger hole in the ground. We are talking about 10 ascending tiers of sophistication, redundancy, and psychological endurance. This scale measures everything from a reinforced closet that buys you 20 minutes to a subterranean ark designed to outlast the extinction of the human species. The question is not just how much concrete you can pour. The question is, at what level do you stop worrying about the world ending and start worrying about the world never coming back? Over the next 30 minutes, we are going to climb this ladder together. We will analyse the engineering strengths, the fatal flaws, and the brutal cost-benefit analysis of each tier. We will look at why a level 2 basement shelter might actually be a tomb, and why a level 8 billionaire fortress might fall apart not because of a nuke, but because of a mutiny. We are digging into the structural integrity, the air scrubbers, and the mental breaking points of life underground. Before we crack the seal on the first blast door, do me a favour. We are building a community here that values intelligence over panic. If you want to secure your spot in the algorithm and make sure you get this intel when it matters, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Consider it the first layer of your digital defense plan. Alright, let us start at ground level. Level 1, the basic safe room. This is where everyone starts, and unfortunately, where most people stop. Level 1 is what Hollywood loves to call the panic room. In architectural terms, we call this a hardened internal envelope. It is usually an above-ground space repurposed from a walk-in closet, a bathroom, or a pantry. The walls are reinforced, maybe with Kevlar sheeting or steel mesh to stop small arms fire. The door is replaced with a solid core steel frame and a deadbolt that costs more than your car. The concept here is rapid deployment. This is not for the end of the world. This is for the end of your Tuesday night when someone kicks in the front door. You retreat, you lock down, and you wait for the police. The duration of a level 1 shelter is measured in hours, not days. It is designed to buy you time, not a future. It creates a physical barrier between you and a chaotic short-term threat, like a home invasion, a localized riot, or a tornado passing through. It feels secure because it is heavy and solid. But in a true doomsday scenario, a level 1 safe room has a nasty habit of becoming a trap. Here is the reality check for the panic room enthusiast. A safe room offers zero protection against the invisible killers. It has no independent air supply, which means it offers no defense against chemical agents, biological weapons, or nuclear fallout. In fact, if your house catches fire during a riot, that reinforced steel door that keeps the bad guys out also keeps the firefighters out, and it turns your safe room into a convection oven. You are also dealing with zero waste management. If you are stuck in there for more than 6 hours, things get uncomfortable. If you are there for 3 days, the sanitation issues alone become a biological hazard. Level 1 is strictly for short-term, high-intensity violence. It relies on the assumption that help is coming. If society collapses and the cavalry is not coming, a level 1 bunker is just a very expensive place to be cornered. To survive a collapse, we have to go down. That brings us to level 2. Level 2 is the classic Cold War basement fallout shelter. This is the image burned into the American psyche from the 1950s civil defense handbooks. You take an existing basement or cellar, You reinforce the overhead joists to hold more weight, and you pile earth against the exterior walls. The primary defense mechanism here is mass. Earth is an excellent shield against radiation. By putting dirt and concrete between you and the outside world, you are cutting down the gamma radiation dose significantly. A level 2 shelter usually includes some basic prepping supplies. We are talking about shelving units with canned beans, a few jerry cans of water, and maybe a hand crank radio. It is designed for a duration of 3 to 7 days. The goal is to wait out the most intense radioactive decay following a blast, or to let a storm front pass. It is better than sleeping under a mattress, and it utilises the structure you already own. However, the basement retrofit has severe structural vulnerabilities. First, if the house above you collapses due to a blast wave, you are now trapped under tons of debris with no dedicated emergency exit. You have essentially buried yourself alive. Second is the air issue. Most basements share air circulation with the main house. If the house is contaminated by fallout, smoke, or viral pathogens, your basement is too. Even if you seal the vents, you are dealing with carbon dioxide buildup from your own breath. Without a dedicated air filtration system, you are on a very short timer. Then there is the water. Basements are the first place to flood. In a grid-down scenario where sump pumps fail, your fallout shelter can quickly become an indoor swimming pool, filled with sewage backflow. Level 2 is better than nothing, but it is a reactive measure, not a proactive one. To get serious, we need purpose-built architecture. We need to look at Level 3. Level 3 is the Earth Berm bunker. Now we are moving away from retrofitting your laundry room and into actual construction. An earth berm bunker is built just below ground level, or partially submerged, using poured concrete or large diameter culvert pipes. The defining feature is the mounding of earth over the top and sides to deflect blast waves. Instead of a wall taking a direct hit from a shock wave, the aerodynamic slope of the earth forces the energy to roll over the structure. This is the hobbit hole strategy, but industrialised. At this level, we start seeing reinforced steel blast doors that seal tight. We see dedicated ventilation pipes, usually with simple filters to keep out radioactive dust. The duration capacity jumps to roughly 30 days. You have space for proper bunks, a dedicated pantry, and a chemical toilet that is separated from the living area by a curtain or a thin wall. It is rudimentary, but it is a dedicated survival space independent of your home's foundation. The Achilles heel of the Level 3 berm bunker is hydrostatics. When you bury something shallowly in the dirt, you are fighting water pressure. If the waterproofing membrane fails, or if the water table rises during a storm, these structures are notorious for leaking. A wet bunker is a mouldy bunker, and respiratory infection in a confined space is a quiet killer. Furthermore, because these are often built with culvert pipes, the floor plan is long and narrow. It is like living in a submarine that never surfaces. Security is also tricky. Because the berm is visible above ground as a mound, it is not exactly stealthy. A determined group of marauders can spot the geometry of the hill and locate your air pipes. If they block your air intake, the fortress becomes a tomb very quickly. Level 3 offers good protection against weather and distant blasts, but for direct threats and long-term concealment, we have to go deeper. We have to hit the FEMA standard. Level 4 is the shallow underground fallout bunker. This is what most people visualise when they hear the word bunker. We're talking about a steel or concrete box buried 10 to 15 feet underground. This depth is the FEMA minimum for significant radiation shielding. At 10 feet of earth cover, You have blocked almost all gamma radiation and most initial blast effects. These units are often prefabricated, trucked to the site, and dropped into a hole by a crane. At level 4, life support systems become mandatory. You are fully underground, so you need a manual or battery-operated NBC, nuclear, biological, chemical, air filtration system. You have a dedicated water tank, usually a few hundred gallons, and a battery bank for LED lighting. This is designed for a 1-month stay. You have bunk beds, a small kitchenette with a propane burner, and a more robust waste management system. This is the entry point for serious survivalists who want to survive the event and the immediate aftermath. The engineering at level 4 is solid, but the psychology is where cracks appear. You are living in a metal tube the size of a shipping container with 3 other people for 30 days. The humidity is high because the surrounding earth is cold, causing condensation on the steel walls. The acoustic isolation is absolute. You cannot hear the rain, the wind, or the chaos above. That silence can be maddening. You are relying entirely on periscopes or cameras to see the outside world. If those cameras fail, you are blind. And let's talk about the hatch. In a level 4 bunker, your entry hatch is usually a vertical shaft with a ladder. If debris falls on top of that hatch, you have a serious problem. Most level 4 units include a secondary escape tunnel, usually a pipe filled with sand that you have to dig out from the inside. It is a terrifying prospect, crawling through a dark, narrow pipe, pushing sand out of your way, hoping the surface is clear. It works, but it takes a special kind of nerve. We are halfway up the ladder, and we have reached a critical pivot point. Levels 1 through 4 are about hiding. They are passive. You get in the hole, you curl up, and you pray the storm passes before you run out of water. But what if the storm doesn't pass? What if the radiation levels stay lethal for 6 months? What if the civil unrest lasts for years? Hiding is no longer enough. You need to live. The next 5 levels transform the bunker from a temporary life raft into a permanent submarine. We are moving from survival to habitation. This is where the price tag explodes, the engineering gets complex, and the moral dilemmas get much, much darker. Level 5 is the deep nuclear survival bunker. Now we are digging 30 to 40 feet down. We are using reinforced concrete thick enough to withstand near-direct conventional hits. The blast doors here are submarine grade, utilising multiple locking pins and hydraulic assists. The air filtration systems are industrial, capable of scrubbing out nerve agents and viral pathogens indefinitely, provided you have the replacement filters. Level 5 bunkers often feature a multi-room layout. You are no longer eating, sleeping and pooping in the same 10-foot radius. You have a decontamination shower in the airlock to wash off fallout before entering the clean zone. You have a backup diesel generator with a dedicated fuel tank and exhaust scrubbers. The duration capacity extends to 3 months. This allows you to wait out a nuclear winter's initial phase or a complete societal collapse. You are safe from almost anything the surface can throw at you. The downside of Level 5 is the complexity of installation and the catastrophic cost of failure. Digging 40 feet down requires heavy industrial equipment and creates a massive disturbance that your neighbours will notice. OPSEC is compromised the moment the excavator arrives. But the real danger is the life support dependency. At this depth, passive ventilation is impossible. You are entirely dependent on forced air systems. If your power fails and your manual backups jam, the CO2 buildup will kill everyone in their sleep. You also have the burial risk on steroids. If the main shaft collapses, you are 40 feet deep. No amount of digging through a sand-filled escape pipe is going to help you if the structural integrity of the exit is compromised by shifting tectonic plates or a bunker buster impact. Level 5 is a fortress, but a fortress without a back door is just a prison waiting to happen. Level 6 is the Hardened multi-use complex. This is designed for families or small groups who realise that surviving isn't enough. You have to remain sane. These bunkers are essentially underground homes. We see full kitchens with electric ranges, medical stations with surgical capability, and isolated water recycling systems that turn wastewater back into drinkable water. The key upgrade here is connectivity and power redundancy. Level 6 complexes often integrate solar arrays on the surface with massive battery banks below, reducing reliance on finite diesel fuel. They have hardwired internet and communication arrays to monitor the outside world. The layout includes privacy zones. This matters. If you are underground for 6 months, being able to close a door and be alone is a medical necessity. The airlocks are revised with surveillance tech, allowing you to see who is knocking without exposing yourself. The weakness at level 6 is the supply chain. These complexes are high-tech, which means they break. If your water recycling pump blows a gasket, you cannot just order a part from Amazon. If your solar inverter fries during an EMP event, you are back to the dark ages instantly. The complexity of the systems introduces more points of failure. Also, while the bunker can support life for a year, it cannot generate food indefinitely. You are eating through a stockpile. Once the freeze-dried beef stroganoff runs out, you have to surface. Level 6 buys you a year of comfortable living, but it does not solve the problem of renewable resources. For that, and for true long-term endurance, we have to look at how governments do it. Enter Level 7. Level 7 represents the civil defence or government bunker. Think Cheyenne Mountain, Mount Weather, or those abandoned Cold War missile silos. These are not built for individuals. They are built for continuity of government. They are carved into granite mountains or poured with military-grade concrete, meant to survive a direct nuclear hit. They can hold dozens to hundreds of people. The systems here are redundant on top of redundant. Multiple air intakes, massive diesel power plants with thousands of gallons of fuel, and food cultivation labs. They have armories, surgical theatres, and command centres. The duration is measured in years. The scale allows for a division of labour. You have doctors, engineers, and soldiers. It is a micro-society. The protection level is extreme. These are the hardest structures on Earth. The problem with level 7 is simple. You are not invited. Unless you are a high-ranking government official, a specific type of scientist, or military brass, these doors will remain locked to you. In fact, if you approach a level 7 bunker during a crisis, you are likely to be met with lethal force by the perimeter guard. The other issue is disrepair. Many of these Cold War relics are crumbling. They were built for a 1960s threat, and budget cuts have left them with leaky pipes and rusted blast valves. So unless you have a key card and a time machine, level 7 is functionally irrelevant to your survival plan. But the private sector has watched, learned, and adapted. Which brings us to the playground of the ultra-rich. Level 8 is the Luxury Survival Complex. This is where the Silicon Valley billionaires and hedge fund managers are putting their money. These are repurposed missile silos or custom-built subterranean mansions. We are talking about swimming pools, rock climbing walls, cinemas, and wine cellars. The philosophy here is that the apocalypse shouldn't be inconvenient. The engineering matches the luxury. They use hospital-grade air filtration, autonomous hydroponic gardens for fresh produce, and aquaculture tanks for fresh fish. They are designed to support a staff, cooks, security teams, maintenance workers. The duration is 2 years or more. It is about maintaining a standard of living that resembles the old world. It is impressive, opulent, and seemingly perfect. But it has a fatal flaw that no amount of money can fix. The fatal flaw of the luxury bunker is the hierarchy. The owner is dependent on the staff. In a normal world, money buys loyalty. In a post-apocalyptic world, money is paper. If you are a billionaire locked underground with a private security team, and you are the only one who doesn't know how to fix the water filter or fire a rifle, the power dynamic shifts instantly. Why should the guards protect you? Why shouldn't they just take the bunker? The head of security becomes the new warlord, and the owner becomes a guest, or worse, a liability. Level 8 bunkers often fail to account for the social contract crumbling along with the world above. True autonomy requires a community of equals, not a master and servants. That is the philosophy behind Level 9. Level 9 is the autonomous underground city. These are rare, globally distributed projects, often funded by consortiums or secretive state programs. We are talking about a facility designed for 500 to 1,000 people. It utilises geothermal energy for infinite power and massive-scale aquaponics and hydroponics to feed a population indefinitely. It has manufacturing capabilities, 3D printers, machine shops, and fabrication labs to replace broken parts. It has schools, governance halls, and libraries. The duration is 5 years plus. The goal is not just to wait out the radiation, but to function as a closed-loop civilization. The protection involves multiple meters of hardened concrete and EMP hardening that protects the delicate robotics managing the life support. The downside of Level 9 is the sheer complexity. It is a machine with 1 million moving parts. If the geothermal tap scales up, or the crop yields fail due to a blight in the hydroponics bay, the city starves. It requires a level of cooperation and technical expertise that is hard to maintain under stress. It also requires vast secrecy to build. You cannot hide the construction of an underground city. If the location leaks, it becomes a target for every desperate soul within 1,000 miles. But even Level 9 assumes that the surface will eventually be habitable again. What if it isn't? What if we need to sleep through the end of the world? Level 10 is the ultimate arc bunker. This is theoretical, bordering on mythical, but the designs exist. This is a facility designed for extinction events, an asteroid impact, or a nuclear winter lasting decades. It features multi-decade food storage, DNA banks for repopulating flora and fauna, and culture modules to preserve art and history. It uses AI-driven governance to remove human error from resource allocation. It is designed for generational living. People will be born, grow old, and die without ever seeing the sun. The protection is near absolute. It is buried deep enough to survive the crust of the Earth shifting. This is not about saving you. It is about saving the human software. It is the backup drive for the species. The cost of Level 10 is not just financial. It is human. To live in an ark is to accept that the world you knew is gone forever. It is a life of artificial light and recycled air governed by an algorithm. So, as we look back down the ladder from the ark to the safe room, you have to ask yourself, what are you actually trying to survive? Are you prepping for a storm? Or are you prepping for the end of time? The higher you climb, the more you have to sacrifice. Money, freedom, and eventually your connection to the surface. Choose your level wisely, because the bunker you build defines how you live, but it also defines how you die. I want to hear from you in the comments. Which level is the sweet spot? Is the basement enough, or are you holding out for the geothermal city? Drop your intel below. And remember, subscribe to the channel. The world is fragile, but your plan doesn't have to be. Stay safe, stay hidden, and I'll see you in the next one.